we'll see whether you're right now. Yes. Okay, well, we haven't been around for a couple of weeks. We've been busy doing other things, but I thought another commentary on some of the key areas which we're coming up to, or you would have studied already. That's right, Rabbi Lawyer. They do some very important areas, and following on from partnerships, we looked at the idea of a trust. Now, I think last year we did a little video clip where we did some role playing, and you and your friends acted out various roles in the formation of a trust, about who was the settler, who was the trustee, who was the beneficiary. And I think the key idea there is we have an idea of what a trust is and how the ownership of the property is distributed. Pencil Dog, put your nose back in. That was Pencil Dog's nose, it was down there, we put it back up here. But, now, one of the other things you need to understand is the fiduciary obligations imposed on a trustee in relation to the obligations towards the beneficiaries and towards looking after and preserving the trust property. So, essentially, with trusts, it's more or less descriptive and learning terms and concepts and ideas. It's not so much you don't need to be able to go into a great deal of detail about the extent of trustees' liability or those sorts of issues, because we actually have whole courses in law degrees which look at those particular aspects. So it's knowing what a trust is, knowing the difference between an express trust and implied trust, knowing about the three certainties. What are the three certainties? And one is certainty of intention to create a trust, certainty of the trust property, that's it, that's right, Robert Murine, yes, and ancient learning is certainty of the objects or beneficiaries of the trust. Now, if we don't have those, the trust won't be created, and sometimes it's important to know whether or not a valid trust has been created, because quite often with testamentary trusts, the settler, or the person creating the trust, is no longer around. In fact, in most cases, in all cases, they're no longer around, and there may be disputes among potential beneficiaries of the settler's estate as to whether or not that trust is valid, because if it's not, other people may be able to get more of the estate, and that's a source of dispute. So I think that's probably the key ideas with trusts, and it's fairly straightforward. Yes, we've got lots of examples in the readings and lots of questions there. You don't have to, no, I wouldn't go through and try to do all the questions on trust. There's some other things. Down the next area is we come in and we look at the idea of a corporation being a non-natural legal person, and how they're set up. The law treats a corporation as being a separate legal personality, and that's a very important idea. It's a fairly sophisticated idea that this non-natural legal person can have liabilities, obligations, and also rights which the law will recognise and enforce if the need arises. So that's a key idea, and the corporation is really quite distinct from the members of the corporation. In fact, years ago, you used to have at least two people to set up a corporation. The law in Australia has been changed over time. Yes, I've been around a long time, so I've seen a few changes in the corporation laws as we go through, and seen a few changes in the names. But really, yes, we can have one-person corporations. And the idea is that this idea, if the people involved in setting up and running the corporation, even if they die, I'm being awfully morbid today, I'm talking about deaths and testamentary trusts, but even if the people involved with the corporation die, the corporation itself keeps on going. And we learn about how a corporation comes to the end of its life later on the course. The other thing is that by now you should have looked at the internal rules of the corporation, learnt about how companies, and companies are just one sort of corporation, because if you have a look under section 57A of the Corporations Act, that's right, 57A. What are we doing here? Well, we're being very good. I think we're being very good. That's all I can say about these people here. They're all listening, aren't they? Yes. Under section 50A, companies formed under the Corporations Act are but one sort of corporation. They've got a much wider definition of corporations now. Yes, yes, Robo Lawyer, the law is very thick, that Corporations Act. It's huge, isn't it? And what you've got to look it up for answers to your assignment question, question 3, that's right, you'll need to have access to that legislation to find that out. And what's that? How do you start some of those questions, because you haven't covered that material in class yet? Well, you might have to read ahead in your textbook. I'll let you into a little secret. You can also look up the index in the legislation, and that will probably give you some idea of what sections are likely to be relevant. So if you go and look at the index at the back, you'll get ideas. What's that, Angel Learning? You've already done that, and you found it useful. It does point you in the right direction. That's very good, Angel Learning. It's good that we've got some people starting on that. Yes. And what's that, Pencil Dog? You like the first 2 questions because you can look up things on the internet. That's right. The ASIC web pages, and there's a lot there, and then the Australian Securities Exchange's web pages, which you have to look up as well. So that's where we're going at the moment. We're looking at the law regarding the constitution of companies, things like replaceable rules, the relationship between the board of directors of a company and the members in general meeting, what restrictions there are on the voting power of members and decision-making power. What's up, Robo Lawyer? It's awfully tricky. Well, I won't disagree with you. I think corporate law, one level is there's some key ideas which are very simple, but because we've got so much legislation there as well, and the general law, decisions, cases there, yes, it becomes quite tricky. I always find it's very subtle, company law or corporate law, because there's not a lot of action going on there, but the implications are fairly extensive. Yes. Yes. So I would be encouraging people to start working on their assignments now if they haven't already done so, because if you're going to sit around and say I'm going to wait till we cover it in class, you won't get it done. I hope. Yes. Yes, I've written out a marking guide already. It took me about a day to do it too. Yes, it's I had to double check everything. Yes, I think I hope I'm right. Maybe the other academic staff will make suggestions and corrections. It sometimes happens. Sometimes I overlook something, but and certainly sometimes students find things which are very different from what you intended. Yes. Yeah. So everyone, that's right. Well, I'd like to think we're all starting on our assignments at this stage. Do you know how many people have looked at the partnership video up on YouTube, Robo Lawyer? The last one we made here, one person. I don't know. I don't think we're going to be one of the top videos on YouTube, but nevertheless we just hang in there. We hang in there, don't we? Okay. Well, we'll say goodbye for the moment. We'll get back to this later on. So. 3 topics. We're up to week 4 already in the course. Yeah. Amazing how it goes, but at the end we get a chance because we don't do the last 2 weeks. That's for revision, yes. Okay, well, we'll say goodbye, everyone. Hopefully, yes, traffic's very quiet on the course web page in this course. Right, we'll say. Right, goodbye, everyone, for next time.